Welcome to Denver Startup Week. I'm really excited to see how the community comes together to create something new and powerful out of all the challenges we're facing today. We're able to bring Denver Startup Week to this community thanks to our sponsors. Join me in thanking our 2020 Denver Startup Week sponsors, our title sponsors, Downtown Denver Partnership, JP Morgan Chase, Prologis, and Zero. Our track sponsors who have made all the great content you're hearing today possible: Battery 621 and the Public Works, Capital One Cafe, Colorado Lending Source, Friday Health, Quizlet, Exactly, Zayo, and Zestful. Our headline event sponsors are bringing the excitement this week. Thank you to Wix, Kenzen, MAPR Agency, Obsidian HR, Kickstart Fund, Promontory Mortgage, Molson Coors, and Comcast. Finally, thank you to our partner and member sponsors listed on the screen. Please say thank you to these companies as you enjoy our virtual Denver Startup Week, and don't forget to use hashtag DenStartupWeek to share your experience and moments of inspiration on social media.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Denver Startup Week. My name is Kylie Kleckner, and I am a co-chair of the product track here at Denver Startup Week, and just wanted to take a minute to say welcome. We are so glad each of you are here this morning. We know it's bright and early, so thanks for logging on. We have a great session for you here this morning on the Purposeful Innovator. We are going to start with a video from Carnellia, which is her presentation, which will be really insightful. And we are so glad you guys tuned in. So you are welcome to use the chat button for Q&A, and we will try to get some of those questions answered. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this presentation.
I come to you today with an invitation to become more purposeful in the work that we do and the products that we create. Imagine the differences that we can make in the world if we solve real problems that bring about real and meaningful transformation into people's lives through human-centered and purposeful-driven technologies. That's what it means to be part of a tribe of purposeful innovators and inventors. Together, let's create the future that we want for the next generation and beyond. Let's create a world that is unapologetic and transparent, with a sense of compassion for the world that needs creative thinkers now more than ever in our lifetime. Hello, I am Carnellia Jackson, and I'm the founder of Mind Catalyst. We help startup-driven organizations leverage emerging technology embedded in meaningful user experiences through co-creation, community, and capital. I'm on a mission to build a purposeful community of conscious innovators and inventors, solving some of the world's most pressing challenges through the medium of human-centered technology with intention and purpose. If you're like me, you've worked for companies in building your career who have really enhanced your career, your resume, and really have given you some great opportunities to move forward in your career. However, in my case, it turned out that one of the companies I worked for was actually doing more harm than good. Let me tell you my story. I was building my resume in IT management consulting, loving the work that I did, until I was assigned to a highly visible IT strategy project that left me overwhelmed with a feeling of ethical and moral dilemma. I was working for this global reputable company as news headlines on all major news outlets aired congressional hearings of testimony after testimony that left many of us shocked. Allegedly, this company had intentionally increased the amount of nicotine in their tobacco products to make them more addicting. To add insult to injury, I'd heard through another family member that one of my favorite aunts, Aunt Bertha, a long-time smoker, was a victim of one of this company's worst practices. And if you haven't guessed already, the company was Philip Morris. It didn't sit well with me going into the office every day, doing my due diligence. My personal compass was telling me to talk to my higher ups and to inquire about being changed to a different project. Working on the implementation strategy for their software kind of made me feel like I was contributing to their terrible practices. This situation became a turning point for me, both on a professional as well as personal level. I decided that I needed to make more conscious choices in the type of work that I involved myself in. I subsequently requested to be reassigned to another project. However, that incident planted a seed for my framework and the process philosophy for building better and more purposeful products that solve problems in the world. The passion of mine that I've developed turned more into an obligation to make more products that are aligned with my values and principles and truly does no harm. I've come to you with good news. And that is, each and every one of us is the good news. Or at least we have the potential of being so. We all have free will to decide how we're going to show up every single day. Purpose, in fact, can be used to propel success. I believe in that so strongly that I formed a tech company to help innovators and inventors who share my values. Those who are in the tribe want to make a difference through the tools that I advocate. Well thought out design, a sense of optimism, and a focus on the impact that we're going to be making in regards to improving the human experience. The first phase within the framework along the journey of becoming a purposeful innovator is the strategy phase. This is an important first step. Here, you'll set goals and form your mission towards meaningful change in the lives of the attended users, as well as addressing their unique needs. Validating and refining your ideas, making sure it's the right solution for the problem that your product is actually solving. Every decision that comes next will focus on just that, taking away or easing that source of stress in the experience of your users. Let's take a look at one innovator who defined a problem with an IoT solution that many parents and newborns of preemies will be forever grateful to.
The all-new Smart Sock is for every baby. For tracking every heartbeat and for every breath she takes. This Smart Sock is for every nap, for every good night's rest, for every is she okay moment, for every night shift. This Smart Sock is for you. For when your hands are full, for a peaceful moment to yourself, for the opportunity to connect with your older kids. This Smart Sock is for monitoring what matters for when it matters most. This Smart Sock has helped over 1 million parents keep their babies safe. It's for every baby and for every parent. Introducing the completely redesigned Owlet Smart Sock.
When Kurt Workman, the CEO of Owlet, and his wife decided to have children, Kurt was concerned, and his fears went well beyond the average future father. As an infant, Kurt's wife almost died with a heart condition that could potentially also be inherited by their future children. Kurt also watched as an aunt, after the birth of her 2 twins, stayed up exhausted to keep a careful eye on her newborn twins who were born prematurely. Kurt is an example, a great example of what it means to be a purposeful innovator. It's a call to think strategically and to build products with a sense of empathy. The innovation behind the Owlet Sock are members of this tribe. Forward-thinking leaders tend to look at products in a broader sense, starting with the problem and impact solution. If you want to make a bigger impact and take your place at the table with us, at the forefront of much needed change in the world, you can't get there by playing small. You can't get there alone. But are you ready to join the conscious visionaries of all ages who share in a vision of sustainability and profound impact? Then welcome to the tribe of Purposeful Innovators. What sets the tribe apart is the human needs, habits, and experiences that are used to shape the direction of the design of each phase of the product that you're developing. As technology enhances, you and I are living in challenging yet historical times. But there are also dangers. Artificial intelligence, for example, can be a real game changer. There are new ways to do more and do it faster. But this kind of innovation can also result in a greater distance between business leaders and the public that they serve. Those in the tech space, for that reason, need to make a more concerted effort to make sure that we have a better handle on what our users need and how we're going to impact their experiences. Let's continue with our look at the journey towards an impactful product. With a human-centered focus and a strategy in place, the next part of the Purposeful Innovator framework is the roadmap. This is where we define the features that will best serve our users' needs. Old solutions are no longer the best way to serve a modern user base. Users are more concerned with how they're going to experience your product and what that experience is going to yield for them. So we must innovate. To illustrate my point, let's take a look at Wobot, an artificial intelligent bot that talks to patients and talks them through cognitive behavioral therapy. It also tracks how they feel on a day-to-day basis through charts and emojis. Wobot is particularly timely given the pivot to telehealth, where patients are limited to physically seeing therapists due to COVID-related lockdowns. It's a product for today where anxiety and depression are rampant, and the traditional means of help is out of reach for so many. Wobot attempts to democratize access to mental health aid anywhere, anytime, and within budget. And although limited, has shown to be helpful during the pandemic.
So my name is Masha Detoy. I'm a writer. I write science fiction and fantasy. And I also teach online. I teach graphic design. And I live here in Cape Town in South Africa. For the first part of the lockdown, it was just being here with my husband, who's a school teacher. So we were here together, and it was scary, but special as well. But then he had to go back to work, and that was very hard. I mean, obviously very hard for him, but also very hard for me because it's dangerous in terms of exposure to infection. I've always been an anxious person. And of course, the pandemic frightened me, but the fact that my husband, who I love so much, is in danger, it was just so difficult for me to process this. All the uncertainty, I didn't know how to manage. So before I even considered seeing a therapist, I was kind of desperate for help. And one of the things I came across, I actually heard about it in a podcast, was the Wobot app. It's also just so accessible. It's on your phone. It's very light. It's kind of fun. And I really enjoyed interacting with this little app. Wobot teaches you some basic principles of cognitive behavioral therapy, you know, challenging your thoughts and all of those sorts of things. I've come a long way. I still struggle every day, but I've learned a lot about how to cope So little bit by bit, I've been I realized that often what I'm anxious about is actually a hint at what I have to face. The anxiety wants me to turn away from it, but the opposite is true. So it's not easy. I'm an atheist, but I have felt this deep need to thank something, or just to say thank you, to be grateful for just even the simple moment when I'm not feeling anxious, when I'm sitting there next to my husband in the sun and we're both quiet and things are okay right now. And it's just bliss.
In addition to maintaining a forward-thinking mindset, it's important at this phase to match features of the product to real human needs. Take time to consider the subtle differences in how various consumers might choose to interact with your product or your service. This is why it took some time to develop the robot. They wanted to make sure that they got the AI just right. The tool offers to each user resources around responses around the questions that are being asked by the robot. Of course, those will vary widely, which meant a lot of nuances for the designers to take into account. However, iterative trials before the public launch helped each member of the team, the product team, from the strategists to the UX/UI designers to developers, turn Wobot into a better mental health helper. Continue on to look at the journey towards a purposeful product with a human-centered focus, strategy in place, and roadmap defining goals and features that will better serve the user's needs. Although these needs and details are pretty set along the process, it's important to understand users and their anticipated experience for your product. Users today are more savvy and discerning than ever before and expect products to be really able to really help them to make really informed decisions. When the news broke about the contaminated water in Flint, Michigan, and that the same cancerous causing chemicals had been found in other water systems across this country, I was mortified. Yes, many of us have water filtration systems in our refrigerators and perhaps in our, in our homes for, taking baths or bathing and as well as cooking. But do we really know how safe the water is that we're using in our homes? Do you know? Well, introducing Aquagenuity. Aquagenuity uses big data, artificial intelligence, and preservative analytics to empower everyday people to test the quality of their water.
I'm Dahl Levant. I'm a native of Atlanta, Georgia, a graduate of Harvard University, and the founder and CEO of Aquagenuity. Now, you've probably seen the headlines about contaminated water in Flint, Michigan. Or maybe you've seen the movie Erin Brockovich about water causing cancer in a California town. But what you may not know is that same cancer-causing chemical has been found in water systems across all 50 states, and there are thousands of Flints across the country. There used to be no way to know what was in your water before people started getting sick, until Aquagenuity. We're using big data, predictive analytics, and artificial intelligence to create tools for consumers, corporations, and municipalities. Our mission is to make water quality data visual, relevant, and real time. Our hashtag is Prevent Another Flint, and we want to change the way the world interacts with their water. To join us on our mission, visit preventanotherflint.com.
With the roadmap set, we take our clients to the finish line with the last phase of our framework, which we call execution. Things are starting to get real right now in terms of building the product, the prototype, and yes, the product launch. If you have an idea that won't let you sleep, doesn't that idea deserve to take its place in the world? The time is now. Without execution, an idea is just a dream. But taken to this last phase, an idea can actually change lives. Even at this last phase, the most successful entrepreneurs and also innovators understand that pivoting is a huge part of the process. Flexibility is key. Testing and research, as well as researching that ever-changing consumer products, ever-changing consumer habits and statistics may lead to a better outcome in terms of the market fit of your product. That's how one designer narrowed her product focus to her clientele that she really empathized with closely. It might surprise you to know that more than half of housekeepers in hotels have been sexually harassed. Many of them desperate, depending on their jobs, and these women are afraid. Many of them are afraid to report what happened with some of the guests in the hotel rooms. Or, in some cases, many of them were afraid that maybe they'll lose their jobs and weren't able to, if they actually told, they wouldn't be able to have a job. Or at least that was the case before, many of them, before the introduction of Always On. Always On is a wearable device with room-specific tracking, thanks to the creators. This product is a brainchild of a refugee turned innovator who knew what it meant to struggle and work under these conditions. For housekeepers on the job, one push of a button means that there'll be help on the way, and hopefully quickly. Now, I want you to think about how many women now feel safer because of this innovator, and many more like her. Almost 500,000 housekeepers are at work today in hotels across this country. The new laws came in and helped with this whole process of reporting harassment on the job. Just think about the peace of mind one product had in terms of inspiring many of these women throughout the country. Is it your turn now? Do you share in the conviction that services and products should be sustainable, user-friendly, and serve a higher purpose? Now is the time to join the purposeful movement to build a better future. Today, we talked about how your spirit of compassion and your creativity and your talents can be a potent combination for solving pressing needs. We talked about the need to stay flexible and to focus on human beings and user experience in terms of the design process of your product. We talked about what it means to work with a company that isn't ethical and isn't in alignment with your goals of doing the good in the world that you want, that your intention is. But what does it mean to truly and intentionally develop products that solve real problems for future clients? What does the owlet sock mean to those new moms and dads of fragile preemies? And what would happen if we don't apply our talents and ideas towards higher worthy causes? What would happen if creative thinkers don't point their ingenuity or put their ingenuity into mental health issues or hunger or telemedicine, environmental issues, and other challenges in which need urgent creative thinking? More than 25% of sexual harassed charges filed in the past decade occurred in industries dominated by social or service sector workers. If the Always On product was not produced, many of those workers would still be in suffering mode. The invitation is specifically for game changers, leaders, unicorns, and superheroes. This invitation is for the outliers, futurists, visionaries, willing to change what they see in the world. 2020 has been a change for all of us. It has changed our entire world and how we view a lot of things. The stakes are too high. The potential consequences are too devastating for you and me to wait for someone else to make things better. The time is now to be purposeful. Will you step up to the call?
If there is something that you feel is good, something you want to do, something that means something to you, try to do it. Because I think you can only do your best work if you're doing what you want to do, and if you're doing it the way you think it should be done. And if you can take pride in it after you've done it, no matter what it is, you can look at it and say, I did that, and I think it's pretty damn good. That's a great feeling.
Thank you for joining me.
Great. You guys, thanks for sticking with us. Carnella, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you now if you want to come off of mute and turn your video on for any remarks further on your video and to move into the Q&A portion.
Sure. It's coming on right now. Everyone see? Hi, everyone. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Does anybody have any questions or anything from the presentation?
This is Ed. We have a kind of similar product, which is a wearable, but it's for it's for karate training. It's basically helps you, with progress in your karate. So, it's kind of similar. It's a hardware product in that sense. It's similar to a lot of the products in your presentation, but it's not. We're not saving lives. We are not altering, the outcomes of, health and things like that. So how would it still apply to us?
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily that the product has to be saving lives or something like that. I think it's more about the purpose behind that. I think when you're developing a product, it's really about even the best practices in terms of how you're even conducting the work, how the teams are being treated. Are the teams themselves, in terms of your back end, your front end, do they have more liberal ways of working? Are they able to have now everyone's working from home, but are they able to have a more flexible schedule? Is that something that's important to you in terms of, how your workers' family is also included into a seamless process of, work-life balance? So it's beyond just a product. It's really about also the product, but also how you're also looking at the overall company culture, and the culture being one of inclusivity and things like that. So you want to think about those things as well. So it's also the product, but it's also about just how you're conducting the business overall and how people are feeling about working in the environment.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Beth. I'll ask you a question. I was just curious if you had any frameworks that you like to use. Obviously, you have your process you presented here today, but of course, some of the ones that came to mind for me that I was wondering if you enjoy, or other ones you might enjoy, are design thinking, and then the part you were just talking about made me think about B Corps and their framework for thinking about, not just product, but your impact on the world, your impact on employees. Just curious if you had some other ones that you use as part of your toolkit or way of thinking.
Yeah. Yes. As you mentioned, definitely design thinking is a huge piece of what we incorporate in a lot of our processes, as well as design sprints. And so when we're doing that, we're also thinking about the impact itself. Like, how are we really impacting the users that we are actually going after, or those users who are going to be using our product? But again, it's really about totality, thinking in terms of the entire totality of the product, the company, the culture overall, because like I said, sometimes it's not necessarily the product, but it can also be the culture that the product is being developed within. So in terms of processes, primarily for us, it's really about, we've actually tweaked a lot of, you know, some of the mainstay, frameworks such as design thinking, very much so, because it's such a powerful way to, just really develop that whole process of really thinking through how you're empathizing with the user and how you're actually creating the product that you're creating. So we've actually kind of taken a piece or a leaf from all the different methodologies that are out there. Particularly though, design thinking and design sprints is what we've been using primarily.
Thank you, Carnellia.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Carnellia, it looks like we got one through the chat, and it says, can you tell us more about Mind Catalyst for those of us who have not been on your website yet?
Sure. So Mind Catalyst, we work with clients that are startup driven. So, they could be a startup company, and they could be an organization, Fortune 500 company that has a more startup driven culture. And what we do is we work with them to go from idea to market fit. We actually help them with, co-creating products. We help with building community around their products as well, once the product is actually designed and developed. And then we also help with capital in some instances. We don't help with capital with all of our partners or our customers, but we do help with capital with those that we feel, we all want to kind of rally around and help with build some capital around. So we help with the strategy in terms of, refining the idea, helping them to kind of finesse that idea, making sure that the idea makes sense to the giving users, as well as the problem that is being solved. We also then go into the design phase. And we do more of the design, making sure that it's being tested with real users, making sure that the usability, the user experience is also adhered to. And then we move over to the development phase. Throughout the whole process, our clients are, intrinsically involved in every piece of the process that we're engaging in. After the design phase, we then roll out the actual product and more of an MVP level. And then after that, we are really helping them with customer acquisition, really enhancing that branding, promo videos and such. And then we are really working towards maintaining the product from there, and then doing some growth hacks as well along the way to help them to grow the product even further. Thank you for that question.
Looks like we got another one. Do you focus on startups in specific sectors or regions?
We don't focus on any particular region. We have clients all over the globe. We focus on, it could be corporations who have more of a startup kind of mentality. And we also focus on, of course, startups. Those startups are not necessarily startups who have just an idea. They have to at least have an idea and have had maybe some traction, or we still do the research, of course, to help them with finessing the idea in terms of our strategy phase. But we do want to make sure that they have an idea that's not just needing to be ideated, but needs to be kind of refined, and then start doing the design work and then development work to take to the market. So it's not just startups, but it is startups and startup mentality environments. Thanks for that question.
Awesome. You guys, we might have time for one or two more questions if they come up. So please feel free to take yourself off mute and jump in. And it also looks like Tiffany has added some contact information in the chat. So if you'd like to get in touch, the chat's a good place to start. This presentation will also be recorded if you want to share it with anyone else in your network. So next question is, have you found any specific accelerators that focus on purpose-driven companies?
Funny you ask. We're actually creating an accelerator as we speak, and that will be available in 2020. So we will be sending out information regarding the accelerator for that purpose because we want to, after this, of course, a conference like this or a presentation like this, we want to encourage more people to be more mindful in about their, not just the product. Of course, the product is very essential, but kind of in totality, a more holistic approach to how you are developing your product, your team, your internal team, your partners, things of that nature. So we will be having an accelerator, and it will be a virtual accelerator that we'll be offering. So if you get on the our mailing list, or you can at least reach out to us, we'll be happy to add you to our mailing list to get more details about that. Thanks for that question.
Great. You guys will give it one more minute. Any final questions from our participants today?
I have another question. So you mentioned, you help with MVPs, minimum viable product. Are there any experiences or best practices you can kind of talk about with that? Like because what should be cut out is probably the biggest thing. And how do you help with that?
Yes. Yeah. So the thing about minimum viable products is we oftentimes come in, engaging with clients who, want to have, more than, 5 or 6 features as part of the MVP. Our approach to MVP development is really to have between 1 to 3 functionality and features, no more than that. Because if you keep the functionality features at a limit, you're able to fully test out that functionality, that feature, with a smaller segment of real users who will be engaging them with that product. If you go, typically from my experience, if you go beyond 3 features of functionality, you're really, putting that product in danger of really having it have too many elements in there for people to really gauge and really adopt the product. So you want to make sure that the features of functionality are kind of limited to 1 to 3, so that you're able to really grasp and do the evaluations around, what the user experience has been throughout your product. So that's typically our advice, is to keep it limited to 1 to 3 features of functionality in your MVP.
Thanks.
No worries. Thanks for that question.
Awesome. Well, Carnella, thank you so much for your presentation. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. I know I really enjoyed it, and based on the comments in the chat, I think everyone else did. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for putting this together. We have absolutely loved it. You guys, like I mentioned, this will be recorded if you want to go back through and watch it later or share it with anyone. So we'll make sure to get that out to you. And if you have any questions, Tiffany's added some contact information in the chat. So again, you guys, thanks for joining. Carnella, thanks for sharing. And everyone, have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you soon. Take care.